After winning his quarterfinal match, Djokovic has never, and I repeat, never lost in the semis or in the finals at the Australian Open. Will it be different this time? That's the question we are asking here today.
So what do you think?
No, I personally feel that Sinner is going to have an upper hand this time. Looking at the raw power and raw hitting he is doing without dropping a set, especially with Rublev, it was absolutely crazy. I mean, but obviously, there are a lot of supporting points what I can think of when it comes to Djokovic. I am sure you may have a lot of those.
See, when it comes to Djokovic right now, obviously the whole world is talking about Alcaraz and Sinner, the way they are
Yeah.
playing. Both are playing phenomenal tennis, but they haven't really, come across somebody like a Novak Djokovic, or there is probably only one Novak Djokovic. And we are
Yeah.
talking about the Australian Open. Had it been a different slam, I would have at least listened to some arguments. But this being Australian Open, Rod Laver Arena, semi-finals, best of 5 sets game. Djokovic is chasing his record extending 11th Australian Open and 25th Grand Slam title. So once he wins 25 Grand Slam titles, so no matter how much the media tries to twist and take these slams into account, they will include. They have already included women. They have already included people from the pre-open era. But I think now even they will run out of excuses.
Yeah,
So 25
25,
is the number I think Djokovic is aiming for.
a quarter of a century. That's it's difficult to imagine the number itself. But in terms of Sinner and as you mentioned, Alcaraz, obviously there is a possibility that Alcaraz will move to the final. Again, he has to cross a couple of hurdles as we record this. Let's see. But when it comes to Sinner, I think this has been a phenomenal performance at the Australian Open. In Wimbledon last year, I also thought or had a similar thought that he was hitting the ball nicely, he was serving well, he was hitting his backhands properly, but against Djokovic, everything crumbled down right that day.
Yeah,
So
if I recall correctly, it was a one-sided performance
yeah, very
at
much, very much.
Wimbledon.
Yeah.
It was also a semi-final. That was also a semi-final.
Right, but just this time I feel that there is enough confidence because of him defeating Djokovic a couple of times, not once, but again in the Davis Cup. So I feel that he should be confident going into this. But on the Djokovic side, I feel that he is anticipating the ball very well. I mean, looks like without much effort, he's able to reach the ball, he's able to play well, and obviously win all his matches. But it's kind of easier without really putting in so much physical effort that is evident in Alcaraz and Sinner's match. For Djokovic, it seems a really experienced kind of a Grand Slam.
See, if you look at Djokovic's matches over the years, the way he has played Grand Slams, I remember you saying during your days that, like there are a few champions who play an average match, they win an average match against an average player, but if they have a great opponent in front of them, they have a player
Hmm.
who's really really a good player, then they play their best tennis
Yeah.
suddenly out of nowhere. So that is what I have felt about Djokovic. If you look at the first 4 or 5 rounds, say the first couple of rounds and then up until quarterfinals, you will
Hmm.
always feel that comparing games, you will feel that come on, has this guy really won 24 Grand Slams? You will probably not believe it. You
Yeah.
will see him make a few errors. You will see him, you know. Complain to Goran Ivanisevic from time to time. You'll see all these things going around, but when it actually matters, when
Yeah.
you are in the later stages of the tournament, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and obviously the finals, so that is when you get to see the real Djokovic. You get to see him up his game. You get to see that suddenly his first serve percentage has grown, and you also get to see that last year what we had discussed, it's not just about him playing the best game.
Hmm.
He doesn't allow his opponent to play at his best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think all these things, and see, once we are talking about Djokovic at Australian Open and the records that he's chasing, I just find it I
Yeah.
find it almost impossible right now for anybody to beat Djokovic at the Australian Open.
Yeah, I think last year it was evident at the World Tour finals. He closed out Sinner fairly easily,
Yeah.
and it was evident in a couple of again matches. I would say One was Alcaraz at French. There was so much hype, but again, uh, match turns out to be a one-sided game. Again, Casper Rood. That was a final, but there were some expectations. But Djokovic has a plan B, a plan C,
Correct.
where it becomes very difficult for the opponent to counter. Unlike most of the players, where there is a lack of plan B. So if something goes wrong, it goes completely wrong. So that doesn't happen with Djoko.
See, and now that you mentioned, if you look at the French Open last year, if you look at the matches Djokovic played against Alcaraz and Casper Ruud, you'll find that he played much better tennis against Alcaraz as
Yeah,
compared to Casper Ruud. But he got the job done in both the cases, and that is exactly what he
right,
stands for.
right.
It's
But
not
it's a
about playing your best every time; it's getting the job done, and this guy knows how to how to do it.
right, right. I feel that it's a hard court, so Sinner should have an advantage. I feel the match might go a little bit like the Wimbledon final, and like Djokovic missed out marginally. This might be the match where he misses out, and Sinner maybe grows from here. So that's my prediction. A
Yeah,
tough
I
match,
think that
but
with the kind of form that Sinner is in right now, and
yeah, yeah.
with all the technicalities that are in favor of him, I think that will be good enough for him to, take a set against Djokovic. So I think it will be Djokovic. Djokovic will win in 4 sets.
Wow. So my prediction is Sinner will win in five. Let's see who comes out on top. And most importantly, let's enjoy the game. So the fans who are watching this episode before the Australian Open finals, we would love to hear your comments, your predictions, and if you're confident enough, your scoreline as well. Thank you so much for joining us and see you post this match. Thanks. Bye bye.